Good evening and welcome to another edition of the curriculum. In the Cape Coast municipality, most children of school-going age are not in school. Those in school are mostly truants or spend after-school hours indulging in social vices detrimental to their academic success. Who is responsible? Tonight, we examine the issues of after-school hours and how the children in the Cape Coast municipality indulge themselves in what they do during after-school hours. We understand from unconfirmed statistics that in the Cape Coast municipality from the Health Directorate, STDs are on the increase. Teenage pregnancy is also on the increase. Who is responsible, the parents or the teachers? Tonight, we will discuss the issues. I have joining me in the studio Madam Georgina Mensah. She is an assistant director at the Department of Social Welfare. She also heads the Junior Girls Correctional Center and Shelter for Abused Children here in Accra, and it's at Osu. And I have also with me here in the studio Fanny Ampon. She is a broadcast journalist. She's done some work on human rights issues, and she's a GJA award recipient on human rights. We will be discussing the issues here. Also, today we are doing something different. We have our Cape Coast friends. We actually have Mr. Saeed Wahab, who is an assemblyman situated right now at Radio Central in Cape Coast. He is the assemblyman for Etsifi, Eyifua Electoral area in Abura in Cape Coast. We will be opening the lines for you in a moment, Mr. Wahab, to join us here in the discussion. Let me remind listeners that we have support from Star Ghana, Strengthening Transparency, Accountability, Responsiveness in Ghana for this program. And we would also be opening the lines later in the show for our friends to join us. People in Cape Coast, if you have any questions, you can ask as we go along the program. Our social media friends can also join us. WhatsApp, send your message to 0505-311-879. Remember, do not call the WhatsApp line. Just text 0505-311-879. Our friends Twitter can access, those who have access to Twitter can join us via Twitter with hashtag CurriculumGH and follow our handle at CurriculumGH. The topic for discussion is after school hours and regulated lifestyles of pupils in Cape Coast. We will be examining the night activity in Cape Coast. But first of all, let me go to you, Madam Georgina. What, in your view, accounts for teenage pregnancy? This issue of teenage pregnancy, what actually accounts for it?
Thank you. I believe parental irresponsibility is the major issue that accounts for teenage pregnancy. And also peer pressure. I'll put poverty as the third point.
Okay.
Yes.
Yeah, okay.
Yes, parental irresponsibility because children are to be socialized from infancy by their parents. So ideally, what values did the parents put in the child? What drove the child into promiscuity? Was the child having his or her needs met? And were parents giving the necessary guidance to the child? So if a parent is doing all what is expected of her, would the child get pregnant? That is one issue. The other is about peer pressure. Maybe your friends are encouraging you, oh, we've been going out with some boys, they have been treating us nicely, and so you are tempted to follow them. And not knowing the consequences. Thirdly, poverty. When parents are not able to meet the needs of the growing girl child, the girl will want to find other avenues to have those needs met. And possibly we have, let me say, some naughty boys or men out there who are always looking for girls as prey. So they lure them with small gifts, and then eventually they get them pregnant. So these may be some of the causes of teenage pregnancy.
It is interesting that you said some naughty boys and girls. I don't think that they see themselves as naughty boys and girls, but the issue of poverty is real. Peer pressure, of course, the issue of parental responsibility. Right from the dressing room, the chat began on this particular show. The ladies in the dressing room were telling me that it is parental irresponsibility. Do you agree, Fanny?
Yes, to a large extent. I remember that when we were young, somewhere in the 90s, after school, you go to the library. After library, you get home, you have to discuss the book you read. And sometimes they will tell you the book is above you or below you, the book is not good for you, something like that. But now we don't have anything like that. Children do what they want, and to add to the irresponsible parenthood is influence of modernity, modern ICT equipment, the new and social media, Facebook, and the WhatsApp and the rest. It's shifting the focus from the reading kind of education to typing. If an SHS student texts you a message, I bet you won't be able to read. So many shorthands, and you have to ask, what does it mean to say IKR? Then the person will say, I know, right? You're like, oh, is it that am I so old-fashioned or something like that? So many influences, and we are shifting focus when I think it's a responsibility of all of us. We are not really encouraging reading, learning, and the rest. Recently, there was a program, some senior high school, they were graduating, and the program they were using to climax their school period was some entertainment program. They said they will bring some mentors, and the mentors were music and movie stars. So I was just sad, and I was just asking myself, how about people who have, I'm not saying there's anything wrong with mentoring music and movie stars and all that, but what about reading? What about spelling bee? When we were young, we did dictation, mentors and the rest, and it's helped to a large extent. We don't have a lot of these things anymore.
Right. Yeah. Child prostitution. You know, Madam Georgina, I'm sure your correctional center, you've picked up some of these things. To what extent is that contributing to this issue of course, the girls are not staying in school? Yes. They are saying child prostitution. Some of them will have to do that for a reason, right?
Yes.
What are some of those reasons that you've come across in your work?
Yes. I work with the shelter for abused children, and it is sad to note that children as young as 9, 10, 11 are doing prostitution. Recently, some were rounded up and brought into the shelter, and we tried to find out from them why they are doing this. One said, I'm the breadwinner for my family. At the end of every week, I make money, and I send it to my father in the village through drivers. So children who are expected to be dependent on adults for their daily livelihood have now become breadwinners, and their parents are now rather dependent on them. A lot of children migrate to the big cities in search of greener pastures or a better life. And then they get here, they realize that what they were looking for is not there. And the most obvious option, because they are sleeping on the streets, it starts by raping. When they sleep on the streets, they have these groups in which they sleep, and there are men who are alleged to be protecting them. So they introduce them to sex. And then eventually they think, if this is all right, I'm able to accommodate it, why don't I do it to earn some money? So child prostitution, sad to say, is on the increase. Children are getting into prostitution. And the cause, I'll say again, is parental irresponsibility, because the example I gave, parents are now looking to their younger children to provide their daily needs, instead of the child being in school and the parents taking care of the children. We have all the good systems in place. It needs improvement anyway. There is F-Cube now. Children can attend school free. You just need to buy the books and a few other things. So why are parents not sending their children to school and supporting them?
That is the question. Why do you think it's so?
It is so probably because parents are just refusing to do what they have to do. You see, we want the easy life. We want to relax and think that it is children who should work. So the child must go and labor. A lot of them have their parents sitting at home. Even when you look on the streets, those who are begging, a lot of them are pretending to be blind, pretending to be persons with disabilities, and they are using children. At the end of the day, they share the profits. So these are not their biological children. So these children also earn money for their parents. So why are parents sitting back and looking on and allowing their children to work instead of they working?
It beats my imagination, Fanny.
Yes,
I mean, for some of us, we owe a lot to our parents for having sacrificed so much.
And the supervision and all that.
And all that, you know, killing themselves. So why, I cannot go into the heads of parents, but what do you think, Fanny? Why are they not able to live up to their responsibilities?
I think, like our madam was saying, it's just we want the easy life. We want the easy way. You know, there was a study somewhere, I think somewhere in the central region, some years back when I did my service to the junior graphic, it happened that some parents were not even buying school uniforms and clothes and shoes for their children to take to school, but they will buy funeral cloth. Every weekend when there was a funeral, they will buy the cloth and go. When there was a party or something outdooring, they will go. I think it's just lack of focus. They don't know what is the good thing, what they really want.
So it's the misplacement of priority as we go along here. And we're still trying to get in touch with Mr. Saeed Wahab, the Assemblyman at Etsifi, Eyifua Electoral area, who is joining us on this show. He's actually situated at Radio Central in Cape Coast. He will be joining us in a moment whilst we do this discussion on after-school hours and the nightlife and unregulated lifestyles of pupils in Cape Coast. So in a moment, we'll be joining him as we continue with the discussion. Now, it is really interesting as we talk about some of the issues that affect education, prostitution. The children are supposed to be studying, but they are not studying. They are supposed to be in the classroom. They are not in the classroom. After, how do you call it? After
school hours.
After school hours, they are supposed to be studying, but they are not studying. And yet, nobody seems to be concerned. The media, we're doing much.
I think, yeah, there's a media influence too. But it's all about the attitude and the lifestyle of the parent themselves, probably. Because if every weekend I see my mom going to wakekeeping, funeral, changing clothes and the rest, I grow up thinking that is the best way to live life. You understand? Yeah. But probably if I wake up and my mom is doing something, my dad is doing something, they are on me, read, let me check your homework and the rest, I'm going to be on my toes because I know that if I don't do that, they will spank me or something. But it's not like that.
Right. Yeah, Madam Georgina mentioned, let me move the discussion a little bit. The Department of Health Services in Cape Coast said STDs are on the increase in Cape Coast. The issue of teenage pregnancy, of course, is also on the increase. The children are not where they need to be and indulging themselves in all of that. And of course, I know linked to that is the issue of defilement. Is teenage pregnancy considered as a defilement case? Do you know? Is it considered as defilement? If somebody impregnates a teenager?
Yes, defilement is having carnal knowledge of a minor. That is, the person should be below 14. So if a 13 or 14-year-old girl gets pregnant, it means she was defiled, and as a result, she's gotten pregnant. So it is an offense under the laws of Ghana.
Now, before we go to what measures are being taken to address that, we would quickly go to Wahab. Mr. Wahab is on the line. Mr. Wahab.
Hello.
Mr. Wahab.
Yes, please.
Yes, thank you for joining us on the curriculum tonight. We were expecting you here in Accra, but all the same, you are in Radio Central, and that is part of GBC. Welcome to the show. Now, you have been following the discussion. Hello, Mr. Wahab.
I'm with you.
Yeah, what in your view are the major determinants of teenage pregnancy in Cape Coast?
Teenage pregnancy in Cape Coast is a problem, a very serious one. And determinant factors are parental irresponsibility. We have poverty also in the line. And then peer pressure. And so these are the major three factors that account for teenage pregnancy in Cape Coast.
All right. Mr. Wahab. Hello.
Hello, I'm with you.
Now, from where you stand, I know you are the Assemblyman for the Etsifi, Eyifua Electoral area in Abura. Now, your area, when we visited Cape Coast and we shot the documentary and all that, what I saw from your end was the issue of helplessness on the issues that were coming out in Cape Coast. Hello?
Hello, I'm with you.
Yes, the issue of helplessness considering parental irresponsibility. Some of the people were laying the issue at the doorsteps of the Assemblyman. They're saying the Assemblyman is not helping. Hello?
Yeah, I think the blame cannot be simply put behind the doorstep of the Assemblyman. The Assemblyman has a role to play. And all other stakeholders will also have their roles to play. Now, for me, as an assembly member of the area, what I need to do is to sensitize my people, particularly parents. And this is what I do at PTA meetings, where I can get parents and then talk to them on how they should cater for their children to avoid teenage pregnancy as much as possible. PPAG.
Okay.
Hello.
No, go ahead.
Yeah, PPAG is having a facility right in my area. And they have programs that capture these young girls, give them some training so that they will be able to be very careful as far as sexuality is concerned. And so I always get in touch with them through the public address system that we have in the communities, direct them there to ensure that they are on such programs so that they will be very, very much careful with themselves.
Now, Mr. Wahab, teenage pregnancy is on the increase. The issue of STDs, of course, on the increase. We were in Cape Coast, and by the time we got out of Cape Coast, we were emotionally and psychologically exhausted by the issues that were happening. I just feel that there should be more sort of strategies adopted to address some of these issues. Parental irresponsibility, children selling all night instead of them being doing their homework. The parents are laying it at the feet of the teachers, that the teachers have to teach them. The teachers are saying it's the parents' responsibility, Mr. Wahab. Don't you think that there should be some form of different strategy to address this problem, which is affecting falling standards in education in Cape Coast, Mr. Wahab?
Yeah, definitely they should. Because if parent side of the problem is solved, and I hope the whole problem will be solved, and the strategies that we can put in place are to capture these parents, particularly at PTA meetings. We have churches, marketplaces. We go there and we capture these parents and then talk to them on the need to be very proactive in caring for their children. We also have to gather these children themselves, so that also get to know why they are in school. In fact, when we did this curricular program, it came out clearly that the major problem accounting for the poor performance of BEC candidates is parental irresponsibility. And I hope if we are able to put in place some interventions that will reorient our parents, indeed, I know the problem will be solved and performance of BEC graduates will be up.
All right. Thank you, Mr. Wahab. We'll be coming to you shortly. But back into the studios here, Madam Georgina, I cut you in there. because we had Mr. Wahab on the line, we're discussing the issue of teenage pregnancy again. The issue is it's a big one in Cape Coast, which is the subject of discussion here. And we said that it's defilement, right?
Yes.
As in your description.
Yes.
Now, if it is so, then what are some of the correctional centers doing? You know, what are some of the measures to address if it's so, because it's high and it's going on? To me, I don't think that the perpetrators are being brought to book.
Well, if the perpetrator is found, if the child is able to identify, and then the family of the child or the next friend of the child is willing to report to police, then the offender will have to be arrested. Even if it is another child, once the person is above 12 years, the laws of Ghana allows that child also to be arrested and then prosecuted and punished. Most often it happens that these children sometimes don't even know the people who are sleeping with them or who have impregnated them. Some really don't know. They meet on the streets, like we saw in the documentary, the children dancing at a funeral. A man lures one away into an uncompleted building. The time you realize you are pregnant, where are you going to find this man? The man will be nowhere to be found. But I rather believe that parents who are irresponsible, you see, in Ghana we have preached, we have created awareness long enough. It's about time we start punishing irresponsible parents. For instance, children going to funeral to dance. You know, children have the right to recreation. They want to exercise their bodies. Do we create the environment or the condition for these children to dance? We spend so much on funeral parties, play music, and these children want to go and dance there. The child's birthday, some drinks and biscuits, play music, let your friends come and dance. Wouldn't the children get satisfied? And if they know that this month it was my birthday, we'll dance. Next month it will be my friend's birthday, we are going to dance. I believe it will cut down the number dancing at funerals, because children need to exercise their bodies. So we must create the environments. The district assemblies, we are supposed to create playing grounds in our communities for children. Do we have them? Even the few we have, like Children's Park in Accra, how functional is it? When you take your child there, who is there to guide? Meanwhile, we have NGOs. We have some good NGOs, like Right to Play. They are using methodology of play to teach children. And you play so much, you dance so much, the children get exhausted. But we are not exploring these things. We are sitting back and probably we keep complaining. What are the measures putting governments or individuals or parents are putting in place to stop these things? Because the children want to exercise their bodies. They want to dance. You see that children enjoy dancing. Let's create the avenues for them to dance. And I believe it will cut down on these issues.
Before we go to something on the legality of funerals and all that, Fanny, I mean, when did this start? I know it should not be, you may not be able to go into the history, but this dancing at funerals.
Yeah, before I forget this, I want to add something to what Mr. Wahab was saying about reorientation. I think parents should, some of them don't even know what happens to their children. And sometimes the teenage pregnancy, the rape and the rest, it is even by people who are close to them. I remember there was a story I was doing, a neighbor, a co-tenant had raped the girl, and then we got wind of it. I went to investigate, and the father told me that she ever caught the girl and the man, and when she asked the girl, she said no. So he wasn't going to do anything about it. We were surprised. So it was more like it was the fight of the news team. Parents should be reoriented to know, I don't know, you give birth to a child. It is your first responsibility. Of course, teachers have responsibility, traditional rulers and religious rulers, but the most important one is the parent. She mentioned poverty. Poverty plays a part, but I want to believe that a parent who is very poor even and really, really cares about his or her child and want to take care of him or her will find every means possible to be there for the child, to make sure that the child is fine. You don't just leave your child to. And sometimes when these issues of teenage pregnancy, the rape starts, the child reports, they settle the case amicably. And then it becomes, if you're a media person, you follow up, it becomes, I have a lot of cases like that. We stop following because You follow up with the case, it goes to the court, and then the mother tells you, why? The way it's going, you know. And then you don't even know what to do about it. It's more like you're carrying something that is a weight that is not even yours.
So it becomes your fight.
It becomes your fight, an individual fight. So they should be made to know, and they should just know who their children play with, the adults who send them. Sometimes they lure them, go and buy me Coca-Cola, go and buy me this. Then before you realize,
cigarette or something.
And then some of them, I don't know. A child tells the parent, this man did something to me, and be like, keep quiet. It happens. I don't get that. I don't understand. And the recreational center she was talking about, at least we used to know Eyifua Sutherland. It's no more there. We don't have a lot of that. So it's the responsibility of the central government too. We have the district assemblies and the rest. We should put these things in place. Because the rate at which it's going, I don't know.
Maybe people are blaming the issue of, you know, it's the new trends. Now it's ICT, it's whatnot. We're moving from one, you know, paradigm to another. Yeah. So I don't think that moving from one paradigm to another should affect our children so much that their education should be compromised, that they cannot play, because their children learn to play, and that they have to be the earners, they have to earn, you know, for the family. I don't think that's fair to them at all.
For the selling, I don't, the Cape Coast, the children selling, we all sold. When I was young, I sold. After school, I sold.
Really?
Yes, I mean, I carried things on my head. No, it's just hawking, just in the neighborhood. We did all that, but we had times that we went to the library. You understand? I don't know whether in this case it's like the parents, the problem is because the parents have just refused to work. It's like they expect the children to take care of them. But if a child, after school, go and sell some toffees or whatever and then come back, read and something, for me, I don't know. I don't see anything wrong with it. It just happens that the parents don't really care anymore.
but you see, some parents are also hiding under the guise of socialization, teaching the child how to change money, and then they are exploiting them. When you go to school, you are taught 10 minus 2 is 8. So you are selling something at 2 cedis, somebody gives you 10 cedis, you know, automatically you give 8 cedis. So why does your child need to sell before he knows?
We didn't have to sell. For me, at home, I remember my mother, we had, when you, we empty cans, milk cans, and Omo cans and things.
You did all
that. We improvised. So we'll have you know, like a store. My brother, my sister, I'm selling, and the one comes in to buy. How much do you want to buy? 2 cedis or whatever.
So, right?
And then we exchange. So we're learning math, we're learning English, we're learning also how to bargain at the same time.
What I was trying to say was,
we didn't have to go to the street.
What I was trying to say was, it's not the streets per se. Like we all sold at a point in time. Our parents had stores, we helped them to sell. You understand? But in this case, I don't want to forget that point she made, that the parents have relegated that responsibility. It is more like those days, it's more like your mommy is selling, you just come take a part after school, you go help, you come back. And then I remember I had my share. I was selling earrings and cosmetics. If my mother tells me it's 50 pesos and I'm able to sell it for 1 cedi, the other 50 pesos is mine. So I like to sell.
So you started picking up the bad habits.
No, it was just marketing. What I'm trying to say was, we did all that. We played, we did all that. But trends have changed.
Okay.
Yes, trends have changed. And where children are helping their parents to sell, it should not interfere with their education.
Correct.
And their schoolwork.
Correct.
But where you are doing it to the extent where the child is selling in the night, and that child will have to go to school in the morning, how is the child going to sit? So yes, older children can help. Older children, not all categories of children equally. An 8 or 9-year-old selling, I mean, you are equally exposing the child to all sorts of hazards, moral and physical dangers. Older children can help to sell, but it should not interfere with their health and education.
Exactly. So we'll take a break here in a moment. We'll be looking at the documentary from Cape Coast for our viewers who did not have a chance to view the documentary last night. We'll be taking a short break and take a sneak peek at some footage here. welcome back. This is the curriculum, and we're discussing the issue about nightlife, night activity after school hours, which is unregulated in Cape Coast Municipality. I have in the studio Georgina Mensah. She works with the Department of Social Welfare. She's an assistant director. She also heads the Junior Girls Center, Correctional Center and Shelter for Abused Children here in Osu in Accra. And I also have Fanny and Ampon. She's a broadcast journalist. She has done a lot of work on human rights and also won the GJ Award for human rights. That was for 2013. We also have in Cape Coast Mr. Saeed Wahab. He's an assemblyman for Etsifi, Eyifua electoral area at Abura in Cape Coast. He will be joining us on the line in a moment as we're discussing the issue of parental responsibility after school hours, unregulated lifestyles of pupils. And we will be, I've just been informed that Mr. Wahab is on the line, so we'll be going to him first. We just looked at footage there from Cape Coast. Nightlife. The pupils are supposed to be studying, but they're there in the street, 2 a.m., God knows what. Mr. Wahab.
Hello, I'm with you.
Yeah, Mr. Wahab, that fateful night when we shot the documentary, you were with us. That is your area, where those children were in the streets there after 2 a.m. instead of them being asleep or doing some homework. Your take?
Yes. It was very embarrassing to me that day when I saw my children on the street paying religious attention to such a carnival, street carnival. And so it was a worrying situation. But then I have to come back and then re-strategize to ensure that these children will be put back to school. But then there are few things we need to think about. Children are very energetic. And for that matter, they would always want to dissipate the energy in them. Any least chance, for example, funeral and then street carnival like the one you met the last time, it's an opportunity time for them to dissipate such an energy. So what then do we do so that we redirect that energy more profitably? Through learning, that is school activity. So what I saw the last time, because it was very embarrassing to me, I am working in my own small way to ensure that my children will not be back on the street in the night.
Yes, Mr. Wahab, you also intimated that, to me, from what I gathered, it's sort of like a helpless situation there. The people are in the streets. Some people have decided to organize them to do an activity which was like a talent show, I believe. And the organizers, in their own wisdom, thought it wise to organize it in the middle of a street. And that street happens to be leading to the hospital, the main hospital. So they had occupied this emergency road in the middle of the night. So it was a very complex situation. There were vehicles moving all around and children 2 years old. I mean, I saw that with my own eyes. And for me, I saw the situation as helpless. Don't you think you need help, Mr. Wahab?
Yeah, when the organizers started this program, they brought it with the chief and elders of Afro community. And the chief and elders told them, on the street, they can never hold that program. There are two parks in that community. And so they can choose between the two school parks and organize such a function there. But then these children or these organizers defy the orders of the chief and elders, claiming that they have the MP behind them. So what we said was that we are not part of organizing that activity on the street. Fortunately, I'm part of the traditional authority. And so this is what we put before them. To my surprise, I went out when I was coming. They were organizing it on the street. So I approached the organizers and told them, you people came to the chief palace and we asked you to organize this at the school park, where it is spacious and less risky. But you have defied our orders. Look at where you are. And so we actually reprimanded, we talked to them, we spoke to them at length, ensuring that next time such a thing will not be organized on the street. And so we hope next time we'll make sure this thing will never be on the street to put children at risk.
All right, Mr. Wahab, we'll be coming back to you. From Mr. Wahab's analysis on the issue of the children just being in the street instead of them studying and all that in Cape Coast, you gather that they are disobeying even instructions from authority. So I gathered here that the authorities themselves in Cape Coast are helpless. And I see the authorities as the parents. The irresponsibility on their part, I'm sure that by the time I come out of the studio, somebody will be beating me up. The irresponsibility on their part, as well as their inability to manage these children, to care for them, to make sure that they are asleep and that they are not walking in the streets. How on earth do you go to bed without your children not in the home with you? Madam Georgina.
Yes. And like you rightly said, the doing it on the street and other things, let's leave it for the law enforcement. Even if it was done on the park, those smaller children would have been there. So where were their parents?
Correct.
Sleeping. If there were younger children there, like we saw, I mean, a child of 2, 3, 4, why should you be on the park watching this thing at that time of the night and your parents will be sleeping? Maybe their parents were street children themselves, so they have not been brought up. They don't know how to bring up children. Most times we assume parenting comes so easy. Once you get pregnant and you give birth, you are a parent. But it's about time we begin to learn parenting. Maybe our antenatal sessions in the hospital should begin to teach parenting to children. That is not just about the health aspect, but the social aspect of the child's life matters. The other issue is that if parents are getting involved in the life of their children, for instance, if you had older children, 15 upwards, and this is a function and they want to go, I don't see any big deal in one of the parents accompanying the children to the place. Maybe the children want to have some fun or entertainment. So you watch whatever with them. If there are any directions or guidance, you give to them. You see, we should begin to get involved in the lives of our children. We don't just leave them. This is children's affairs, so they should go. You are not there. You did not see what happened. You could go there with them. You watch up to a point. You tell the children it's getting late. We have to go back. You have to sleep because tomorrow is another day. But we saw only children and there were no adults.
There were no adults. It will also interest you to know that for the entire time that we spent there shooting, personally, I did not see any talent in that talent show. I'm sorry to say, but I'm sure the people of Cape Coast will descend on me for this. But it is very serious. That was a talent show. The time of the children were wasted. And all the resources and all that, no talent. Because if you are just singing and dancing and making some sort of jokes, I don't know what kind of talent they were looking for. But honestly, there was, for me, I did not see any talent at all. Fanny, you saw the documentary.
Yes, I did. It comes back, my concern had to be with the time that they had a program.
Yeah.
Then secondly, you're talking about the talent. Initially, I made a point about the shift in focus. What we now glorify, those that used to be reading competitions, spelling bees, and all those things, the things that will build up a child. But now it is no more like that. It's about dancing Azonto and dancing Al-Qaeda and all those things. And these things, fine, they dance all right, but it doesn't in any way build up the children. We have to go back to those times where reading and writing and all those things counted. It builds up children and not just dancing and all that. And then secondly, you mentioned that you told Mr. Wahab that they need help in managing their children. we've been blaming parents, blaming in quotes, parents and all that. I don't want to believe that parenthood is easy. It's not easy to parent a child now because we have a lot of influences and all that. Children watch movies, they see things they are not supposed to see. And now some of them even know some things that you are thinking they don't know. They know. I have this 7-year-old girl in the house, and there was a movie I was watching. She came back from school. The movie had some scene I didn't want her to watch. She greeted, she was still standing. I said, go to your room. She said, no. She stood there for a long time and she said, this girl, she'll get pregnant. 7-year-old girl. So I laughed and I was like, how do you know? I said, I know, bet me, she'll get pregnant. Then I was like, okay.
Interesting.
Interesting, they know. And I think sometimes in this society, we try to think, I don't know, playing the ostrich, like, let's just try to cover it. They don't need sex education and all that. But luckily for some of us, we read some of the things that if you ask a lot of people, they didn't have any kind of sex education in schools. We read, we asked questions, so we were told and all that. I read a book, I asked my teacher and he told me, if a man sends you blah, 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 don't go, don't do this, this is what is it. Okay. It's not every time it happens like that. Okay. So there has been this shift.
Yeah. We have a caller on the line. Hello? Number. Actually, we don't have a caller on the line. I'm told that we're going to open the phone lines in a moment. So if you're joining us in the discussion, the number is 0302-770-111 and 222. That's 0302-770-111 and 222. Cape Coast, you can call us on the line, ask the questions. We're discussing you tonight, after school hours, unregulated lifestyles of pupils. The night activity, you can call in Cape Coast, 0302-770-111 and 222. Now, are there any bylaws on funerals, waykeeping to regulate? I'm told Elvis from Dodowa was on the line. Elvis, just a moment.
Good evening, Mom.
Good evening, Elvis.
Yeah, good evening.
Good evening, Elvis.
Yeah, hello, good evening.
Go ahead, Elvis.
I'm really enjoying your program. This is my first time watching the program, and I think it makes a lot of sense what the old lady just said. Normally people seek to hide certain things from their children. With they not knowing, the children know exactly what they are hiding from them. I have a kid sister here. She sees certain things, and I marvel. I don't really know where she learns those things from, and how come she got to know if you do this and this, this and this and this is going to happen. So I think it's your program is a really nice program. It's much educative, and I would always love to watch with my kids siblings. You know, for them to know certain things we wouldn't like to teach them. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Elvis from Dodowa. He's given GBC a thumbs up for this program, which is educative. So keep watching GTV. We have more programs for you.
Yes.
From Circle, Toad from Circle is on air. Stone from Circle.
Yes, I'm here.
Hello, Stone.
I'm so much interested. Yes. There's a feedback.
Yeah, Stone, go ahead.
Yes. Yeah, I'm interested, much interested in this children issue discussion for some time now. My concern, almost every panel, there is something missing they are not watching. When a parent takes a children after 5 o'clock to church, late 9:30, 10, they come home and the children are tired in the church, and then they force them to go to church. They don't force them to study. Our time, we were forced to study after school. Well, now a parent escorts a child to church at 5 o'clock when the child comes back from school, instead of forcing that child to do homework and then when he's finished, go to bed, wake up, go to school. But rather forcing the child, a 7-year, 10-year child to church. He will be dozing in the church. When the parents close 9 o'clock, 9:30, 10, then the children already feeling sleepy and come home and sleep and wake up. How can that child do good in school?
we have to call a spade a spade. Religion, we have to watch that side. I'm not afraid. I will talk. Because my children, they are our replaced people. They replace and build, follow, and do good for us. There are a lot to talk about these children issues.
Thank you very much.
Yes.
Thank you very much, Stone from Circle. John from Takoradi, you're on air.
Good evening.
Good evening, John.
I think I'm lucky getting to watch this program. I just sit on my table for a while. I realize this is very, very educative. I learned when I was a kid, the only time my parents would see me on TV is speech and prize giving day. And maybe I'm reciting a poem, receiving an award or something. This day,
John, I think that you're not very audible. So if you may want to turn down your TV.
Hello?
Yes, go ahead.
Can you hear me now?
Go ahead, John.
Okay. What I'm saying is, I sit on my telly and I realize this is a fantastic program which needs to be shown all over. Because when I was a kid, the only time you see us on telly is when we are at speech and practicing there, maybe taking some prizes, reciting a poem, or something else, something very educative. Usually you see kids on telly dancing, it's going to be whoop, whoop, whoop. And people are so excited when I get mad. I say, wow. So I think it is the generation. And look at it and you are very sad. There are days when you see your father's car driving around, you get scared. Not your father's friend, your father's friend's car driving around. You get scared. This day, parents is not you being my child. Parents is someone who cares for everybody, every child. That respect is vanished. And somebody doing his own thing, who dare you to go and punish somebody's child that stop this? So I think it's a generational problem. I mean, in fact, I don't know what to do. When I started watching this, I said, wow. So I think this thing to keep on showing things for us to learn something out of it. Because we are sick and tired of this other things that our kids watch on telly. Thanks so much, and God bless you and keep it up.
Thank you very much, Takoradi there. John Lilo from Ampon, you're on air. Lilo from Ampon, you're on air. I'm sorry, we don't have Lilo on the line there. Back here to the studios. Thank you all for calling. Back to the studios. We're discussing the issue of night activity. I think I asked you, Madam.
Yes, about the bylaws.
Georgina, are there any bylaws for funerals and waykeeping?
I believe there are, but sometimes enforcement of our national laws becomes difficult. However, locals do make their laws. I was in a waykeeping recently in La, and around 10 p.m. they announced that within that locality they have made that rule that after 10 p.m. no loud music at the funeral grounds. So apparently when music is not playing, people will go back to their homes. And so if children want to even come and dance after 10 p.m., there will not be any music. So let's not wait for policymakers. How often will the police come and check whether you took a permit for organizing a program on the streets? Or the police come to ensure that you are doing a program late into the night and there are children. You want to do a children's program, do it in the afternoon. Yeah. Or early part of the evening. So I believe these laws are there, but implementation is difficult. But for instance, we have seen Cape Coast. The Assemblyman has talked. They can rally together, make rules and regulations within their locality that when you are doing this up to this time, you stop. If you don't stop, you are picked and prosecuted. Right. What has happened to the organizers of that function?
Maybe Mr. Wahab would tell us some other time. But obviously those children, besides the program that they did that night, are also dancing for a bottle of malt, we are told by the headmistress of St. Michael's girls in the documentary. They're dancing for a bottle of malt and all that.
They may have all the good intentions, but do it not at an early hour like that.
Right.
At the right time.
Fanny, collectively, what can we do to regulate the unhealthy lifestyles? of some of this?
To add to what she said, the responsibility lies with the parents first, the teachers and the religious leaders. When we were young, we went to Sunday school, we learned one or two. And then if your Sunday school teacher sees you on the street doing something untoward, they will call you, and you yourself, you'll be shy. You wouldn't want to be called by your Sunday school teacher or even your school teacher to be doing something like that. So parent, teachers, and then in 2012, they launched the National Action Plan on worst forms of child labor, and some of these issues, child position and all that, it factors into that. The deadline is next year. So yes, assemblymen, traditional rulers can do what they can do to help, but I think the central government, policymakers too, we have to help to make sure the child is safe.
Yeah, I know you've said a lot, but in summary, just a sentence, what should we do to help these people?
Yes, we should adopt good parenting styles.
Adopt good parenting styles, like you said. Learn parenting. I picked that from you. Learn parenting, because parental irresponsibility has been outlined as the major key, factor. The reason why our pupils in Cape Coast municipality are not performing at all when it comes to basic education certificate exams. Parental irresponsibility. The parents are not there for the pupils. The pupils that are not helping themselves. The teachers are saying the parents must help. The parents are saying no, it's the teachers. But it's clear that it's the responsibility of the parents. It is the responsibility. This has been the curriculum with support from Star Ghana. Strengthening transparency, accountability, responsiveness. I've had a lot of help here in the studio from my colleague, Fanny Nana Ampon. She is a broadcast journalist, GJ Award recipient on human rights 2013. And also Madam Georgina Mensah, who came to us the very last moment. We are very grateful to you, Assistant Director of the Department of Social Welfare. She heads the Junior Girls Correctional Center and Shelter for Abused Children at Osu. I must thank Mr. Saeed Wahab, who was stationed at Radio Central in Cape Coast, who came to us and joined us on the phone. He's in the Abura area as the Assemblyman, and that is in Cape Coast. Thank you all very much for all your calls. Join us again next 2 weeks on Thursday at 8:30 p.m. on the curriculum. We'll show the documentary. And then at 6 p.m. on Friday, again in 2 weeks, you join us here in the studio as we discuss the issues on our live panel. It's been the curriculum. Thank you all very much. Have a good evening. My name is Rebecca Ikpe.